Hi everyone, what's happening? So, here people to talk about the Premier League and the situation we find ourselves in heading into 2023. So obviously the World Cup has just finished a couple of weeks ago, and already it feels like a lifetime ago that World Cup was on, because so much has happened in the Premier League. And of course people, from an Arsenal point of view, we're buzzing. We're absolutely over the moon. I'm certainly feeling the energy, people. I'm feeling the excitement. I'm really optimistic about how things are going with Arsenal at the moment. We're just going from strength to strength, and we picked up where we left off before the World Cup. Since the World Cup, we've seen two very authoritative, convincing performances, starting off against West Ham, winning that match 3-1, going down 1-0, and then coming back so strongly in the second half, not panicking, staying calm, staying focused, trusting in the tactics, trusting in our processes, our preparation. And we pull that game around. We win 3-1, so each of the front three scoring, Saka, Martinelli and Nketiah. And then against Brighton yesterday, it was just more of the same. So Arsenal winning 4-2 at the Amex Stadium, a place that traditionally Arsenal have struggled at in the past. So ultimately now, with Man City dropping points against Everton at home, so not exactly the hardest match, it's opened up a 7-point lead for Arsenal at the top of the table. Now, wow. I've said from the very beginning, people, that I've been confident Arsenal can have a really good season, that they can show the progress that's been happening already since Arteta got his identity on the club. So obviously it took time for Arteta to start producing results in terms of a league position. There were 2 8th place finishes in his first 2 seasons, but since the second 8th place finish, and even halfway through that season, I was seeing Arteta's philosophy, his vision, his cultural ideas coming through. And now we're seeing a situation where he and Edu have been able to recruit the players they want. They've got the professional standards and everyone's input very much in accordance with the level that it needs to be from Arteta's point of view. So everyone's really invested, they're committed to the project, there's a team spirit, a togetherness. And that was what initially gave me hope at the beginning of the season, because I could really see this alignment of ideals coming from Edu, coming from Arteta, coming from the board. And I could see last season, I was really noticing a style of play, a system whereby Arsenal would be comfortable in possession, playing out from the back, using Thomas Partey as the pivot. He would then look for Martin Odegaard or Martinelli, Saka on the sides. And it's just really come together this season. But it's not happened out of the blue. It's happened because Arteta has put in the foundations off the pitch in terms of the culture and also in terms of strategy and game style. We were seeing evidence of this last season. So that's what gave me hope at the beginning, coupled with the fact that Arteta always carried himself in a very confident manner. It looked like he knew what he wanted and he knew exactly how the vision needed to progress. And he alluded to this. He had a recent interview with Jamie Carragher, Sky Sports pundit, former Liverpool legend. And in that interview with Carragher, Arteta was saying how in his initial recruitment selection process, when he first got the job, he outlined that he had a 5-stage plan about where he saw Arsenal and how it needed to progress and the different phases of the project and what needed to be done. And he mentioned that at the beginning, when he first took over, it was a very fractious club with a lot of division. The crowd, the Arsenal supporters were not buying in. They weren't happy with what they were seeing on the pitch from the Arsenal players in terms of commitment. They weren't happy with the management at that point. Maybe the players themselves, they weren't really feeling a connection with. And Arteta mentioned this in this interview with Carragher, the need to bring all of the pieces together again, to rebuild. And it was never going to happen instantly. And I think what people are able to realise now, looking back, is that maybe they were a bit hasty in judging Arteta so harshly based on the fact that the results weren't coming through early. Because now we can recognise that, hey, it was a big job. He did have a lot of rebuilding and repair to do. And it's only now that we're seeing the fruits of what he was actually initiating from the very beginning. But the results are coming now because it just needed to happen like this. It was always going to take time to recycle the playing staff, to maybe refresh the playing staff, so to essentially move on some of the players who weren't, in Arteta's eyes, going to take the club forward, and to bring in a fresh, younger approach with new players, a certain age range, maybe from, let's say, 20 to 25. Arteta and Edu really went for this strategy of youth, and having had the experience last year of just falling short, you feel now that Arsenal are stronger for that. They've really learned. They've potentially recognised some aspects that need to improve this season, having experienced certain things last year, but you feel like they're on the right track to achieving those. And it's very much all to play for. So as we know, people, the league season's only 16 games old. There's still another 22 games. It's a 38 game season. So no one's saying that Arsenal have won the league yet. But from a fan's point of view, from my point of view, I genuinely believe Arsenal can win the league from here, and I think they will win the league. Obviously, Manchester City are a fantastic club, fantastic team, with star quality players who are going to keep Arsenal honest. But one thing we saw the year Liverpool won it in the 2019-20 season, once Liverpool started inching clear, City somewhat wilted, and the pressure of the daylight starting to grow in terms of the number of points that Liverpool in that season were able to amass in terms of a lead affected City, I think, in terms of their own belief and confidence and maybe motivation, because once you start falling behind, maybe you lose that sense of enthusiasm, and subconsciously maybe you start feeling a sense of resignation that maybe it's not our year this year. So it's important for Arsenal, these next 2-3 matches, and they're going to be difficult ones, Newcastle, Tottenham and Manchester United. If Arsenal were to win those games and City were potentially to drop points and the lead were to expand to double digits, get to 10 and more, then you might see a situation where Arsenal can really hammer home this advantage. So I do feel it's almost at that critical stage where, were the gap to get any bigger, you would feel that Manchester City would be in a spot of trouble in terms of defending their title. So Arsenal absolutely flying on all cylinders, people, and yeah, let's see how things develop from here. But from my point of view, really enjoying it, really loving the growth and evolution of this team and how they're performing. So yeah, let's see, people. I'm absolutely buzzing. Shoot me through your thoughts, people, if you have anything to add to the discussion. But from an Arsenal point of view, definitely we're flying high, and long may it continue. All right, people, peace and love.